Battlefield is returning to form, and honestly I think there's no better time to try a 2040 than now, but I wouldn't have said the same just over a year ago. It wasn't the first time Battlefield had a rough launch though, with most recently Battlefield 4 and 5 coming to mind. This was somehow worse though, and the community did not like it. Since launch though, the game has had a steady supply of updates, leading to a much more positive reception from the fans in general, but let's get into what's changed, what's been added, and where we're moving forward with the game. This was a long journey that DICE had to undergo. The game was released way too early, and you can only assume it was because of publisher pressure. It was filled to the brim with bugs, and the game had a complete tonal change from the previous in the series, opting for a more light-hearted tone with character quips, bright colours galore, that sort of thing. Instead of being your bog-standard soldier, you are now a character within an elite task force similar to Call of Duty, and the influence was just obvious. Combine this with no classes at launch, and it created a huge disconnect within the fanbase. The cleanup started before the game had even launched, with DICE releasing a statement in October titled "What We Learned from the Open Beta." In this statement, they recognised that the game was in a good state, so they vowed to improve the game, and since then they've delivered. For the first 7 months of the game's life cycle, it received next to no content, but don't confuse this for laziness. During this time, there was an update almost every single month to fix existing issues for the game and to build up to that first content drop. So now the game was fixed and stable, it was time for the first content drop. The brand new map exposure provided everything you'd ever want in a Battlefield map, from close quarters combat to open stages for vehicles. The map also had a huge verticality to it because it was based on a mountain. With a new map with so much open area, what better way to make sure aircraft aren't such cocky bastards than to add a specialist wielding a fucking guided rocket launcher? Liz, the aircraft hunter. She was added to the game to make every pilot's life hell. 2 new stealth choppers were also added to the game, perfect for taking out infantry, but really lacked those air-to-air capabilities that the other aircraft did. Along with these helicopters though, you had 2 new weapons in the VSS marksman rifle as well as the crossbow, and also a smoke grenade launcher. The game had its issues, but it was steadily becoming a really fun experience, and 0 Hour only further cemented this with all the additional content. 2 months later though, Season 2 was released. Master of Arms continued the upward trend of the game, adding roughly the same amount of content as the previous season, as well as vaulted weapons, which I'll get into a bit later. The new map was pretty similar to Discarded, one of the launch maps, in that it was a gigantic cargo ship in the center of the map with several points surrounding it. This map had a lot more verticality to it though, and it has a lot more built up areas between the points compared to Discarded. Definitely a lot smaller, but that isn't always a bad thing. The new operator this season is a mixed bag, but definitely brought a lot more traditional engineer class style to the game. His main gadget is a stationary armored minigun, with his secondary ability being able to repair heavily damaged vehicles a lot faster, meaning he is the perfect specialist for a passenger, say for example a gunner in a tank or a repair seat in a helicopter. As for weapons, 3 brand new weapons were added in an all-rounder AR, 20 rounds of the mag, high damage, decent fire rate, an LMG that might as well be recoil as it's so fucking overpowered, and then an SMG like secondary based on the Kel-Tec P50. They also added the aforementioned vaulted weapons. This brought guns from previous Battlefield games from Portal to the base game. They gradually released more and more of these, even between seasons as well. To finish off the season, a concussion grenade that temporarily disorients enemies, and 2 new ground vehicles were added. A fast armoured car with significant firepower. Think the hovercraft and the Lap V4 had a love child. The other ground vehicle was a 2-seater buggy to get around the map faster. On top of all of that, you also had the usual fixes and balances throughout, leading us to the next season. Escalation, the 3rd season and the current one as of this video, featuring a flat open map with a central point for close quarters combat. Overall a solid map. The season also features a rework for both Manifest and Breakaway. New specialist has an airburst launcher with a range-based detonation on it, meaning you can shoot from around corners, from cover, all sorts of things. 3 brand new weapons focusing on the futuristic theme of the season. So you've got a charged up rifle that requires accuracy to be effective, so I'm pretty shit with it. Double barrel semi-auto shotgun and a semi-auto pistol with very low recoil. Pretty solid. Of course there was also a lot more vaulted weapons added throughout the season, as well as a throwing knife, which I consider a Call of Duty staple personally. This season we got a brand new tank with a Gauss cannon. The tank comes equipped with 2 fighting modes, one for mobility, one for firepower, so it's pretty versatile. Arguably the most important part of the season, the specialist system got a rework which reintroduced the class system. This system has split all existing specialists into traditional classes, limiting them to certain gadgets and helping bring back a class identity to the game. On top of that, to encourage you to use the intended weapons for the class, each class gets its own buff for their respective weapon type. As of this video, Season 4 is less than 2 weeks away and brings a similar amount of content as the previous 3 seasons. The game is in a fantastic spot now, and for the most part all of the issues have been fixed, so if you go into the game expecting a near future modern experience, then you'll enjoy it. However, if you do go into it expecting Battlefield 4 2, you're going to be very disappointed with the game because it really was never intended for that. Bugs are fixed, issues are ironed out, the class system returned, and a constant flow of content. Really, what's not to love? Comment down below what you think of the game. I'm curious to see if my opinion's popular or not. Thanks for watching.